What you laughing at? Whoa, look, it's time to go viral. I'm homicidal, I'm killing all my rivals. I'm the man, shit, I put that on the Bible. I Spotify my target, cause you know I got the title. Hey, I'm a Mac 2. I told baby shake that ass like she Apple. She said it's real, so she got my name tattooed. House full, so I hit it in the back room. Whoa, baby said she needed now, peep the urgency. I want a little Kim before she had the surgery. Leg spread on that hardcore poster. She love twerking, she just do it for the coach. Big dog, bull massive. 6 tray Chevrolet, I'm classic. All these niggas mad at me, that's tragic. The main bitch in the bed, that's graphic. Yeah, we about to go viral. Hey, we about to go.
What's the deal? What's the deal? What's the deal, Viral Gang? Welcome back to another episode of the Viral Way Podcast. Make sure you share, like, subscribe to the channel. Shout out all the Viral Way members. Tinfoil Hat Gang, put your hats on today. We got a special one for y'all today. As always, it's your host that do the most, Mr. Viral himself, a.k.a. the villain, because they hate me for my opinion. And as always, I got the squad with me.
Yes, indeed. LBC Messiah, man. The great. We here to lead the way.
Yes, sir. Kali the One, live and direct, ready to connect.
Here to wake the sheep that sleep. And as y'all can see to my left, we got a very special, monumental, high-powered guest in the building. He really don't need no introduction. I'm pretty sure y'all already know what's going on. Y'all already know about his movement. But if you don't, we got 19 keys in the building.
Man, pleasure to be here, man, on the Viral Way.
Yeah. What's the deal, bro?
Man, everything, man. We at war outside.
We definitely at war. I like the type of timing you want because we finna get right into it.
Let's get to it.
But
man.
Before we get into it, I see you brought your product here, so let's start the show off and let the people know what you got.
This the Lion's Mane coffee. We call it Supermind right here, man. This is my personal pack from home. But I'm gonna get y'all some though, cause y'all got some Superminds the way y'all be talking. But it's just something that help re-empower your brain cells, increase memory, mood. You feel me? Learning, energize you. So I wanted to create something as we've been talking about cognitive security. You feel me? Like in this day of information overload and like we consistently stuck on these screens. You feel me? We start developing brain fog and can't think clear, and it messes up our mood, and we get an attitude and messes up our relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So the products we got now is all about building community, well-being. You feel me? We do the coffee clubs that we do when we tour around to where we had people meet in the morning, have conversations, you feel me? Create new rituals of connection.
Okay, where can they find this? You got a website, you got a link?
Yeah, asupermind.com.
asupermind.com. Y'all tap in, run his sales up, man. High power. So before we even get started with the topics, I'm kind of curious. How did you find out about our platform? Because you said you've seen a couple clips.
Man, come on, the Viral Way, man. You talking about?
I'm just saying, we be having a lot of wild clips going. So
I was trying to think on which one it was, but no, I seen y'all was talking something good, man. It was a few times I seen it, and I'm on this hype right now, man. I like reaching out to people that got platforms that I feel like got representation, especially when it comes to like speaking to the streets. You feel me? Like everybody can't reach everybody. I can't reach everybody, but there's some people that may prefer y'all lingo and the way y'all put it together. You feel me? And I feel like it's my job to be able to reach out to y'all to where we can have conversations behind the scenes as well, to where we can spread some of the same narratives and messages so that it becomes more abundant and frequent when it comes to what our people listen to and what they consume.
Nah,
so I appreciate you.
That's facts. We appreciate you for coming on because I be following your content a lot, and
Yes,
we
sir.
big on the high level conversations
Yes,
and
sir.
things like that. So it's like, but we get a lot of flack where we at because we trying to grow to those spaces. So, in your opinion, how did you get to that point where you at now?
Man, it's every day. You know, I'm big on self-knowledge, self-awareness. You feel me? It's like every man got to be able to tackle his light and his dark side. You feel me? And darkness is something that you consistently work to transmute into power. You feel me? Like for me, the greatest thing I do is learn every day. Every single day, I'm always learning something and then reflecting on what I learned. So therefore, I get growth. You feel me? Like I was talking to my older brother. He just got out of prison not too long ago, and he was surprised by, because he was going in and out for so many years. So now for him to see where I'm at, he like, man, this is like a brain shock to me. And he never thought that people would be so interested in the type of conversations we used to have. You feel me? Like the upbringing that we grew up of.
Right.
You feel me? But I was explaining to him like, man, those things was rare. So this is what made them valuable, because people weren't able to get that side and that perspective, especially digitally. You feel me? But then it also goes towards the things that we went through in the streets and the type of training that we had. You feel me? Those experiences is what mold us and make us more valuable to the world. You feel me? Because if I ain't went through nothing, I can't teach nobody nothing. You feel me? Like I can relate to so many different perspectives because I done lived so many different lives within one. So I look at it all as like a lifelong story. And I think the most important thing is the story you narrate in your head of why things are happening to you.
Right.
You feel me? So everything that happening to me, I put a why on it. And that meaning allows me to use it purposefully in some sort of capacity. Like when I last had my last case, my older brother, he was fighting the case from inside. And my pops, he was actually a co-defendant on the same case. My older brother gave me a list of books to read. You feel me? And I started reading those books, and those books was really helping me to like strategize and adapt my mind for what we was about to deal with. And so I remember reading the books, and before that, I was locked up. I was like in Iowa or something. They had picked me up on some charges, and I was there for maybe like a month or so. And I was reading fictional books. You feel me? It was a really good ass story. I was immersed in it. But by the time I was done, I realized, man, I ain't got no closer or any more empowered, you feel me, to get myself out this situation. So when my brother gave me the list of non-fictional books to read, whether that was philosophy or strategy or whatever it was, I was able to use that information because it pertained to my circumstances. So after that, we beat the case and got that not guilty verdict. I said, I ain't never going back. Like every single thing that I learned, it has to be useful in some sort of capacity. You feel me? And then ever since then, I've been looking for them keys to keep myself free.
How are you able to shake off that part of your image? Because with us doing semi like conscious content, and us having a street background and also been to jail, been to prison, we get a lot of flack. People like to call us like you guys are contradictions, walking contradictions. How are you preaching this, but your lifestyle used to be that, or you a part of this, but you preaching against what you actually are a part of. And I always like to refer to Malcolm X. It's like, hey, before he became Malcolm X, he was Detroit Red.
Yeah.
The media likes to shy away from Detroit Red, where we put a spotlight on that. Like we had to go through this to become this. So I like that you don't shy away from that part of your life. Because I look at the criticism that you get, and a lot of people like, oh, he's a grifter. He's just in it for the money. You know, he's a criminal. He went to prison.
God damn, they
like,
be saying all
yeah,
that.
on God. Like, they say the same shit about us. So I'm curious.
Well.
I'm curious how you combat that. Does that bother you at all?
There's no reason to combat it. You feel me? Those are not even my audience. They ain't even who I'm trying to reach. You feel me? For everybody who supports you, is gonna be a sucker who will hate you. Mm. You feel me? But it creates the balance. You can't live a life without negative and positive. But I promise you, I ain't never met a man that had something bad to say that was doing more than me and impacting more lives. You feel me? And that's outworking me in any sort of capacity. Like anything that a person thought was bad, like if you really listen to what a person's saying, it's actually a good thing. I done been through darkness and I was able to make it out. But if I was just another statistic that died or was stuck in prison, you had nothing to say about my life. You understand me? So the fact that I'm doing, what do we want black men to do in America? You want them to elevate, you want them to do business, you want them to be mentally sound and stable, you want them to be leaders, you feel me? You want them to be new archetypes that people can serve as inspirations and examples. Nah, so I don't mind the hate. It's a lack of understanding, if anything. But what keeps me grounded is I understand the real story. You feel me? Like if I wake up every day and shit, I gotta learn, I gotta build, I gotta network, I gotta connect with the team, I gotta deal with real life and real family stuff. You feel me? And then somebody say something on the internet, that's a disconnect. You feel me? That's them trying to utilize my name because they don't have anything going on in life, so they need something to connect to. I understand that. It's always gonna be parasites in the sea. You feel me? But I'm not worried about that whatsoever, because when I go on tour and we can get 1,000+ people to show up and we hear the testimonials of young men and women, you feel me, and why they showed up and how we didn't impact their lives mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, right? That keeps me going. You feel me? But this ain't nothing easy to do. You feel me? It's not a blueprint that just anybody can follow, because you got to be willing to sacrifice. You got to be willing to put your life on the line. You got to be willing to invest it all. If I wanted to make it just a capitalistic endeavor, I would be sponsored. Right. You feel me? We not, because there's certain things, the same way people be talking about how they get in trouble for saying free Palestine. I get in trouble for saying free the culture from the boule. You feel me? It's the reason we didn't get a BET award, an NAACP award, or ain't had no sponsors all of these years. It's because I'm unwilling to sell out. You feel me? And a person that ain't went through nothing can't understand it.
So what keeps you motivated to stay on that path, doing this type of content, the conscious content, knowing it isn't as profitable as crash out content? Because you could turn on the camera right now and say, man, fuck Dr. Umar.
Man,
It's up.
easy,
And
real
you going
easy.
up. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I understand narrative control. I understand psychological operations. You feel me? I understand rage bait, clickbait, every aspect that goes into the marketing and branding and how people, create these moments. But I ain't doing it I wouldn't respect myself at the end of the day. I think that's the biggest thing. And money is not my greatest mover whatsoever. You feel me? If it did, I would run my operation different. It's really just based on who I am and what I want to do for my life. You feel me? Like I grew up as a Black Muslim to where we had training our whole lives that was teaching us that we was God and that it's our responsibility to awaken the dead. Who the dead? Those who mentally, spiritually, physically sleep. You feel me? That don't have consciousness in their mind. So what somebody called conscious content, what is conscious content? But content that's complex in a manner that makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? The man that's not conscious is getting a goddamn psyop ran on him. He don't even know.
Yeah.
The FBI say that the only way to stop a psyop from being ran on you is to be hyper vigilant. So when you thinking things are a conspiracy, some people go over and above and beyond. Yeah. But then it's also the people that don't think nothing is a conspiracy are the ones caught up in it. You feel me? So which one would you rather? You gotta pick your poison in this world of, making sure that what you're doing is highly researched and is vetted and you're willing to check yourself when you do something wrong or say something wrong. You feel me? I think the most important aspect and factor in it is just growth. Like, am I still the same person making the same mistakes? You feel me? Because you can fault a man for a mistake he made, but you got to credit him for learning as well. And it ain't a person alive that can't say, I done learned from every single mistake and grown and then evolved. That's a good example.
I agree. You had a point about fiction versus nonfiction.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting because I would say fiction in our community is like not only what we read, but the media we digest, right? When it comes to drama, you got baddies, things of that nature. You got the crash out culture, and then you have nonfiction, which I look at as more of the type of content that we create. How do you think our people get more on a nonfiction frequency, if that makes sense?
I think both of them had a place. Some call strategic imagination, right? Like culture is consciousness in motion, right? This is the idea that when something becomes complex enough, right? And complexity in culture looks at like music. You talk about the language that we have, right? You talk about our fashion, you talk about our spirituality, you talk about our economics, right? All of those things are what make culture, right? Then you look at each one and say, okay, what's the health of each one? Does it boost our cognitive performance, meaning the way that we think, the way that we learn, right? Intellectually. So if we look at the music, we can say the music definitely doesn't right now, right? And we're talking about the dominant frequency that we listen to and what people are aspiring to. So the music is low cognitively, right? And consciously. It's not that complex. You might just hear what the hell 100 times, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's
you
crazy.
feel me? So the complexity in music is super low right now. So when somebody's saying something conscious, it's just saying it's complex. I want people to kind of understand that. You feel me? And then we start talking about our language. Depending on where you grow up, you feel me? There's a certain level of complexity in the language. You feel me? Of how they speak in Long Beach or how they speak in Oakland. But then how do we speak collectively as a Black people? Do we utilize a higher vocabulary and lexicon? When Malcolm X switched over from Red to Malcolm, his lexicon became more complex because he read the whole dictionary. So when you don't have the words, there's certain things that you just can't express, which means you literally can't think. You feel me? So with our vocabulary and the language that we're consistently utilizing not being that complex, we don't have higher consciousness to think for ourselves, right? Or when something is happening and you ain't got the language for it, you have no defense against it. So like if somebody don't know what a psyop is, how can they stop themselves, you feel me, from having a psyop ran on them and them being brainwashed, right? Then we go into economics. Like, who do we spend the most money with? Is it each other or the communities? You feel me? So that means that lack of circulation of our intentionality of where we put in our money, you feel me, means that it's not gonna create nothing regenerative. So it's not complex because we ain't got no intention behind it. We just trying to feed the ego real quick. We just trying to make ourselves look like a higher status or look good. When I dress, I gotta dress with intention. I gotta put the cosmos on me. You feel me? I gotta wear certain colors and show up in like a militant futurism. You feel me? All of these things are speaking without me talking, right? It goes deeper than that. So every single symbol is connecting with an individual. It's storytelling. You feel me? It's connecting to ancestral archetypes that's in you that you connect with. There's ancestral memory in our blood already. You feel me? So when we talking about fiction and nonfiction, the nonfiction is the stories we tell that narrate who we are in our head. If most of the stories that dominate, the wavelengths are negative. It's stories about killing. It's stories about gang banging, about robbing, about drug dealing, about pimps, hoes, strippers. You feel me? You ain't seeing yourself as a scientist on the screen a lot. You ain't seeing yourself as a superhero. If you do, he get killed the next movie. You feel me? Like, you're not seeing yourself as an engineer and on different planets. So your imagination ain't even being fed. But think about every other culture. Theirs is fed. You know what I mean? The white man has seen himself in every role imaginable. The Asian man has seen himself in all the roles. Bollywood and India, all the roles. Our imagination ain't even being fed visually. So it ain't even stimulating. So when you start thinking about what you can and can't do, like, if you can't visualize, you can't believe it. So the stories we tell are important. There's a lady by the name of Octavia Butler. She was a futurist, and she would write stories about the future. She asked the question of, are Black people in the future, right? And it's more so this idea that futurism can break that loop that we have to where we're not thinking about just the trauma from the past. You feel me? Like, we're now projecting ourselves in the future. That's a very powerful stimulant for one to be on. So when we only make movies about our trauma or music about our trauma or talk about our trauma, all we're doing is placing ourselves in that same reality. It's something called the reticular activation system, and essentially is what you think you see. You feel me? If we start talking about Black Teslas, we go outside and start seeing Black Teslas everywhere. But think about what we don't talk about, so therefore we don't magnify, so therefore we don't see, so therefore it never becomes our reality. So the stories we tell are important, but the problem is there's no intention behind how those stories are feeding us. You feel me? If I'm listening to a story and I'm reading it and it's telling me about, this Black militant futurist who then embedded his way throughout culture to help elevate his people, like the brother Ibrahim Traore, you feel me, to eventually have all of the wealth and power redistributed and decolonized, and he goddamn like Malcolm X and James Bond, you feel me? He fly as hell, every woman want him, he got golds when he walk around, he got an aura, everything. Man, that's a fly story you putting in my head. So now I start thinking about how I can be that character. You feel me? But we ain't got those stories being told.
Now, that's the reason we have the conversations that we have on this platform, the uncomfortable conversations that the culture needs to have.
Yeah.
But having these conversations, you often run into like backlash from your own culture, meaning that, do you ever get like savior's fatigue? Meaning like you're trying to help a class of people that seemingly doesn't want help. So it's like you could try every which way to try to feed them the medicine. They don't want it. Because it's like a popular phrase, put the candy in the medicine. We like to use that all the time. But a lot of our saviors that I see today, once they reach a certain plateau of their platform, they often turn against what their original movement was. Because they're like, man, I'm putting my life on the line to save y'all. And the ones I'm trying to save is saying, fuck me.
Yeah.
Then they just like, you know what, fuck y'all.
Yeah. Why you think my current tour is called Save Yourself? You know what I'm saying? Because I also realized that the current war is invisible. Like, people don't see it. The current epidemic we face is loneliness. Black men feel alone doing stuff. When you're alone, you're the perfect candidate to be manipulated, right? Because you're looking for connection. And that connection sometimes is an idea. Sometimes it's an influencer. Sometimes it's a product. Sometimes it's a drug, right? And so you're now online digitally listening to content, reading content, but you alone, so you're looking for something to connect to. So now things that normally wouldn't influence you if you had a tribe, you feel me? Those are the things you listening to, and then they start to become your identity because you think this is your real thoughts. It's not your real thoughts. Right now, the most dangerous warfare, they call it, is cognitive warfare. See, when you got such a, I would say, understanding and love for your people is probably the only thing that can stave off that burnout that comes from trying to help your people, right? Because you realize that if they can't help themselves, there's nothing you can do for them. A long time ago, I ain't gonna say a long time ago, but actually more recently, I just realized that the potential I see in others is not real. It's just what I would do in their situation. And I got a lot of brothers. I don't always work with them at all. You know what I mean? So there's personal disappointment in my own life. I was like, damn, why the fuck can't we unify? Right? Then the fall of America, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks like, why don't y'all unify? You know that's the only most powerful thing you can do. But this invisible warfare, this cognitive warfare that's happening, who got the worst statistics in America? Black men. We got the most cancer rates. We got the highest depression, suicide. You know what I mean? We got the highest blood pressure. You feel me? Highest prison rates, murder, violence, right? Suicide. Like, when that happens, number one, that means there's a lower level of a cognitive health. And when your cognition is low, it makes it easier for you to be manipulated. So let's say within a group, one of y'all having problems mentally or financially. So what somebody would do is look at that as the weakest link. So now they be like, man, so-and-so don't even respect you like that. They don't even hand you the mic or give you airtime. You ain't listening to that when everything going good. Like, man, them is my brothers. There ain't nothing you can tell me. But then when you ain't feeling good and you down, that's when them seeds start to drop. You start looking for something to hold on. You start trying to figure out a reason why because your brain is in survival mode. So you ain't even have that much time to think. And that's why what I focus on mentally is like trying to teach us how to become mentally resilient so that we can start thinking and those things can't control us. You feel me? Like scientifically, if we talking about it, it's called system 1 thinking and it's called system 2 thinking. System 1 thinking is our automatic brains. It's what we just do every day casually. We don't want to think about it. You feel me? It's 100 million times faster than system 2 thinking. That's when we got to slow down and actually think about something. But when we think about something, it sets up this barrier and we start filtering information of what's real, what's not real, what's true, what we would intake. When we on social media, most of it is just automated. We're not even really thinking. When we listening to music, it's just automated. So thoughts is getting past us that we shouldn't. We listening and reading misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation that's false. But we don't know, because who got time to research? You think about a thought that you have now. It could be something you think about me. Who planted that in your mind? Do you know where it came from? Right? There was a study that showed the University of Zurich or something, but it was on Reddit, where there was AI bots that was deployed that was acting like human beings, and it was influencing people's behavior. It was actually shown to be 50 to 100% times more influential than a human being would. It went in there with a certain intention to try to see if you can get them to a certain thought process, right? And it pretended to be like sometimes sexual assault victims or start talking about political stances and ideology. The whole time you think you're talking to a human. So you walking away with stats and ideas, right? And going into the real world and angry with these stats in your mind. Because what they were doing is it wasn't just controlling what you think. It was actually starting to manipulate how you think, which is dangerous as hell. So what they've learned how to do is utilize what they call neuroplasticity, which is your brain ability to grow new neurons, to like become a new person, to think new thoughts, to change. But they're using that against you, saying that we can change you and help you develop a new identity. And now you're going to be defending against it, thinking it was your ideas in the first place. So think about how that can happen to you. Think about how that can happen to your child. Think about how that can happen to your group or your family. So the weakest link is now being manipulated. And now they developing a different identity. And you like, damn, what happened with bro? Why you think the way you think? This don't make no sense. Because he alone. He got a psyop being ran on him. So this new digital warfare, man, with the things that I study, like there's no books on this. These are military papers you got to read in order to figure this out. You understand me? So when I see people that's manipulated or they got certain narratives, that's called narrative warfare. You understand me? Like when the media position things a certain way. They've done that to every African leader. They try to dehumanize them so they can go in there and kill them. They trying to do that now with Ibrahim Traore.
Sure.
You feel me? So any leader, anybody in position of power, they're going to narrate their story in a way so when they want to take them down, it's okay. So I know our people are susceptible to these type of psyops. So if I have that type of understanding, then how can I be mad?
Yeah, because
My goal is just teaching you how to teach yourself.
Speaking on that,
yourself.
Nancy Pelosi, she low-key broke that down on how they smear you in the media first, whether it's true or untrue.
Oh,
they just
100%.
running on enough different news outlets to where the public just believes it blindly, whether it's true or not. So whenever they do what they do to you, the public damn near looking at it like it's justified.
Right. You're
But
not
that's
even
what-
a human no more.
Yeah, you're not even human no more. You know what I'm saying? The same way they call us the N-word to dehumanize us.
right.
So once they get to doing whatever they want to do to us, it's like they're not even doing it to a human at this point.
And to your point, you said about when leaders rise, you become an idea. You're not a person no more. They're not thinking about you as a human being. Like, what did it take for this person to show up every day? I mean, what did it take for them to have a burden on their shoulders? Like, I wonder what go on in their personal life that they got to deal with as an average man or woman. You feel me? Like, I wonder what their financial situation or burdens go through. How do they consistently show up for other people? Like, you know how the easiest way to do that is just think about all the things you would have to do to be them. You feel me? It's a burden. Some niggas, they do just become extreme capitalists because they become nihilistic, which means that they think nothing means anything anymore. Like, it don't even matter. Nothing matters, right? It's kind of like how we look at the financial system and say, man, the system is rigged, so I might as well just gamble my chances into wealth. You feel me? But that's nihilistic thinking when you're in survival mode, and that's kind of how sometimes people get. But, man, I grew up seeing leaders crash out, seeing leaders fail. So for me, I keep that mentally on my mind. Like, I don't want to become that. You feel me? Because I know what's really happening is when I get stressed out or I got anxiety, that's those weaker thoughts telling me that those thoughts are correct because I'm looking for something to hold on to. And the higher you go up, the lonelier it is. So the more dangerous it becomes and the more important it is to have that mental resilience.
I think one of you wrote this down, but question to you, do you think the truth is dead? Because when we're speaking about the bot situation, right, I know something called dead internet theory,
Yeah.
which is, 50 to 60% of the people you're interacting with on social media that you're having these arguments with, or you're seeing certain pages and AI, it's all fake just to plant a certain mindset within you. And then you do think it's your own. And then also you have certain influencers, right, who maybe are motivated by sponsorships or whatever their intentions are. They put out a certain information to people without necessarily caring about where that information is going to take them. And then we also, look at, for instance, CNN or ABC. We might go to a CNN and this is the only news source we go to, and we believe everything that they post is factual just because of the blue check or the gold check. So, and I think a lot of times what that can do is give you or feed you misinformation because you're just looking at it as, well, this is a blue check, this is a gold check. This is true because of that, and not necessarily checking deeper into what the sources are or what the truth actually is. So do you think because of that, the truth is dead? And how do we get back to finding the truth, or where do we go and look to say, okay, I can look at this platform or I can look at this media outlet and I can actually get the truth from this? Or is it just everything's clickbait at this point?
The truth can never be dead because the truth is the only thing that really gives you life. You understand me? It's just whether we choose the truth because everything else seems shiny, and it's more important than learning actually how to research and validate information, right? It's a skill set that you have to learn because I sometimes read something online and I'll look at it and it'll be a statistic and I would think it's valid. Like I seen one today that say 65% of black women that have bachelor degrees or higher work for the U.S. government. And then right under that, somebody was in a post and saying, Grok, is this true? And Grok was like, no, maybe it's around 22%, but there's no stats to back this up whatsoever. Before there was an AI directly connected with that, you would have just took that information as true, right? And then somebody that wants to be angry at black women for whatever reason, they're utilizing that when they get on podcasts and arguing,
They could use that,
right? So now it's warping their reality and what they think is true. And the problem with this is why I'm saying cognitive warfare and digital warfare and like your digital hygiene and making sure you're not intaking false information, it requires so much intentionality, right? To where the average person don't care if it's true. That's the difference.
Oh God.
You feel me? If it's information that sounds like it validates what they already feel or believe, they running with it. You feel me? So that's where, yes, you have to find sources that have integrity. You feel me? Sources of, they call it journalistic integrity. So if you go vet the source of where you're getting it from. Because now when you get false information, now you can't get mad at the information, get mad at the source. Typically when a journalist come out with new information, they got to vet it with like 3 different sources. Now they got to go through multiple ones because what happens is those 3 different sources may have been in the same silo, getting the information from the same person. You feel me? Or that person got it from the next person that got it from the next person. So you're not going to be able to trust what's online. You're not. There's people and sources that you may learn to trust over time, right? To say, man, I think this person is integrable. I think if they do make a mistake, they will come back and fix it. And I think that you have to be willing to question everything, right? Like the conscious community, man, I was probably the first one to create some controversy in the conscious community. I remember one time I said the conscious community is dead because it was so much just debating and bickering and not enough building, right? But also, as I'm here now today, and there's a lot of things that's, just like overtly wild that I just don't think play into common sense or just necessary conversation, but you understand that there's a level of hypervigilance in that community, right? Because they're always thinking, always digging, always looking for a truth, right? Which is necessary. They call it literally the conscious community. So that means things outside of that are unconscious, right? So this idea that the biggest psychological manipulating thing is that they made us think that thinking wasn't cool, being intelligent wasn't cool. You feel me? Like when and not being smart ain't cool. Like it's your ability to be able to think and solve problems. But we literally make fun of that. You feel me? Like, oh, he think he's smart. Oh, well, you think he is.
That's crazy.
That's a psyop.
We just went through something similar to that when we just potted yesterday.
Yeah, what you trying to kick knowledge?
Yeah, but
exactly.
But we still talk about aggressive intelligence, and now it's getting to a point where we got to start looking at everybody else that's not smart as you becoming a part of the enemy. Because you are a detriment to us as a race too, because you are a liability at this point, especially in 2025, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the issue with the conscious community and the Black community in general, we're suffering from what I like to call solution-based burnout, where there's so many people popping up on the internet with answers to solve our problems. Everybody is just tired of hearing all the theories. Nobody's actually doing the work. Everybody's trying to go viral with the answers. So you got 1 million people giving 1 million different solutions to the point where even hearing it is starting to turn people off. It's, oh man, you trying to kick that? Not man, I don't want to hear that bullshit. They looking for escapism with the content. It's like 100%. They don't want to face reality. So if my reality is already as bad as it could be, why do I want to get online and hear somebody regurgitating what I'm living? No, they want to get online and escape what they're living. So a lot of the conscious content gets pushed to the bottom because we're one of the only communities, for whatever reason, doesn't want to face our problems head on. One of our main problems to me is staying on code. Something as simple as that. Just staying on code. We can't even do that because unless we can stay on code, it's impossible to win this invisible war that we're facing right now. We're looking for leaders to follow, but what happens when they chip our leaders like they do all of them? This is why we need a system, because the system will breed leaders. Not only would it breed leaders, it doesn't matter how many leaders they chip. A good system stays in place longer than the leader does.
Right.
So as long as we got that system that we could build and utilize to become a force, we don't need really like a leader to follow. Oh, we need to follow Dr. Umar. We need to follow VwP. We need to follow 19 Keys. No, everybody help themselves and that'll help everybody. But until we build a system, it's futile to me.
I think you could kill too, like, for lack of a better example, have terrorist organizations, right? Like you can kill a person, but you can't kill the ideology. You can't kill the mindset of that. So I think it's us having a collective mindset as a people and building and growing on that to where it's like, even if you do chip Malcolm, even if you do chip Martin, you have somebody with the exact same mindset that's taking it a step further each time when they get up to the top. That way, you know what I mean, we can keep advancing. But we don't all operate on the same frequency. We don't always operate on the same mindset. And a lot of us look at one another or people with a different mindset as an enemy or as someone who is should be outcasted or something of that nature, where we go against that because we look at them, and I feel like it's jealousy, it's ego, it's a lot of things in the play that keep us from all operating on the same frequency and mindset. Everybody wants to be the leader, right? When sometimes I think it's okay to sit in the seat and be a student. It's okay to learn from others and say, okay, this person at this point in time might have the better messaging and be able to, push it forward and get us to the next steps. But we're all playing a tug of war here at the bottom of who can be the best, who can be the one with the knowledge, who can be the anointed one. And I think that's why we're not on the same frequency and mindset. And until we get on that, I don't think we can get to a place where the mindset is strong enough. That's why when we have a leader go away, it takes a long time for another one to come up.
It's a lot that goes into that, because again, when we talk about culture, people sometimes say we don't have a culture. We do. It's just the health of it is not high. It's just not higher consciousness. It's just a lower conscious culture at this moment. And one thing that goes into that is intentionality. You have to make sure that it's not moments, it's movements. You feel me? I have people reach out to me and want me to help them, but they don't want to empower me. You feel me? So when I look at other people and I study examples of why they able to make campaigns work the way they work, they fund their leaders. They fund their thinkers. They fund philosophies behind them to push it. That level of intentionality is not there. So we'll celebrate somebody for being a millionaire, billionaire, success because we think that's Black excellence. But Black excellence is the scam that replaced Black power because it don't come with any ownership. It don't come with the intentionality of saying that, okay, well, if 19 Keys is going out there teaching the people, then let me see if I can help elevate that and build some things around that so we can actually be more impactful and do more. Right? We're not asking the question is why not more people helping. We trying to say why he not doing more. So this is how you end up burning people out because this person, you don't need to be doing this, but the solution burnout comes from the lack of investment into the solution as well. Right? And we don't create that level of standard or accountability within those. So when somebody has a solution, what do they need to do then? They got to educate themselves. They got to become a baby capitalist to try to get some money to then fund their own solutions. Then they got to learn how to properly build a framework, a team to manage it, to execute, to brand, to market it, to learn managerial skills, to learn how to defend it, to resource it, to get a network. Like you think that there's going to be one man to do that? Like how much do you think a revolution really costs? How much do you think these things really cost? It's not the people who's trying. It's the people who not helping. You feel me? It's the lack of intention behind that. Like I see a lot of brothers that people might not like. I see why they turn into what they turn into. Because you see somebody trying for 10 years and wonder why they go dark. Who was helping them last 10 years?
Yeah.
Y'all was saying why this person not doing more. And what happens is, and everybody can experience this on a micro level, the more you do for people in your life, they stop appreciating, they start expecting. You understand me? So there's less gratitude. And the moment you're not doing enough, then that's when you get ridiculed by them, right? But the less you do for somebody, it's like a rapper. If he rap about killing 90% of the time, you feel me? And 10% of the time he say something positive, he gonna get way more love than a person who rap about something positive 90% of the time. You understand me? Because there's no expectation for it. So therefore, there's nothing but appreciation. Right? But when somebody get used to it, you help somebody 2, 3 consistently, they like, no, give me more of that, more of that. And it's like, damn, wait a minute. So there's actually a rhythm in which you help people. You understand me? Because when they get used to it, then they stop appreciating it. And without that gratitude, you can't grow. So yeah, that's why you may go give a rapper that say, I want to get into mental health, and he might be able to raise a few $1 million. But that person that's grassroots, that dedicated their whole life to it, been ignored the whole time. So now they on social media and it sounds like they complaining and they might not even know the ability to articulate what they really need. Because they've been spending so much time at organizing people. They don't know how to organize money. They don't know how to put together a deck. They don't know how to put together a nonprofit. They don't know how to go get the grants. They're going to need somebody else in their organization to organize those things. But they got the passion to be able to lead. So when we going to get educated, are we getting educated to be intentional about how we can add to these movements to grow? When we going to get money, are we going to get money so we can help grow institutions around this money so that people know how to create something that's sustainable? You feel me? Like when we go look at, the show with Bumpy Johnson, American Gangster, what is it? Bumpy Johnson was helping funding organizations that was doing good. He wasn't the one that was doing the good per se, right? But that's always been the relationship between the streets and revolutionaries. Now the streets is the capitalists. But there was also a time when, you know, those of the boule would give money because they understood, like, yo, in order for us to make progress, we have to fund those that's willing to be on the front line.
Right.
Are we still willing to do that? They say even Jesus had a funder. You understand me? Somebody willing to help give some money so that money bag, when he walking around with them disciples, was full.
Speaking of this, Wallow had a controversial clip. I don't know if you saw that. He was speaking to, I believe, aspiring entrepreneurs. And one of his things was, I'm not supporting a business just because it's a Black-owned business. While I think we have to look at, you know, the quality of the business, we have to look at the integrity of the business. Do you think that to a certain degree we should support a business just because it's Black? And what I mean by that is if I could go to the corner store down the street and it's owned by the Asians or the white people, but there's maybe a corner store that's a mile or two away and it's pretty much the same product, why not go support them just because they're Black, especially knowing that, you know, our dollar doesn't stay within our community. I feel like a lot of time our people don't have a longer term thinking of, well, you know, I can go here, this is more convenient, maybe it costs less. And so we go with these people, not maybe understanding that that takes the money out of our community. Whereas, and if I went over here and maybe spent the extra 50 cents for the t-shirt or for the bagel or the coffee, this could eventually grow within our community and help our community more. So do you think that we should support business to a certain degree just because it's Black, or do you believe in just the credence of it's about the quality of the business?
I think both. I think that we can promote a standard in Black business and be intentional about supporting Black business. See, Black people have a power that no other people have. Nobody else can boycott Black business because they already don't support it.
Yeah.
You understand me? Like, we spend all our money outside, so we can boycott. If white people not supporting your business, then how can they boycott it? You get it? You feel me? We're spending more with everybody else, and sometimes we support because they white, because we think that white is better. Right? There's plenty of Black businesses that do operate at a level of operational standard that's excellent. So I think that there's both the education on, and I said this before Wallow even said it in a few videos, don't create a Black business, create a good business. You understand me? Because you do not want to be relying on your melanin for support.
Definitely.
You feel me? Rely on your customer support. You feel me? Rely on actually integrating a good service and learning over time. But I still will support a business that's Black because I want to give you a chance, right? I want my dollar to intentionally go circulate because I know if that mindset became viral, right? And it became cultural, then we will have more economic progress, right? But at the same time, yes, we should, as we teach in financial literacy and business literacy and digital literacy, we're learning to get better. You feel me? And we're growing in it. Like, I supported Wallow business specifically because he Black. You know what I mean? He got a drink. I'm gonna watch that. I mean, I'm gonna drink the drink. You feel me? Because he's a Black man, him and Gilly, and I know them. I've been knowing them for years. You feel me? I know for a fact that Wallow supports people because they Black.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's saying that in a way to get people to understand that we have to increase our standards. Don't have nobody owes you nothing. And if you have that mentality, then you're gonna focus on making a good business. Now, it should be on the opposite side as well, that everybody should be intentional of finding those good Black businesses, because there's plenty of white businesses that have been racist and we still went back. You feel me? That have disrespected us, we even went back. That have messed up our orders and we didn't went back. That have scammed us, we didn't went back. The biggest scamming businesses on the planet Earth has been white.
That's a fact.
You feel me? Like, they scam out of billions.
That's a fact.
They do the, see, it's the narrative again, narrative warfare. When a Black person breaks into something digitally, right, they call it scamming. When a white person do it, they call it hacking. You feel me? It's completely different. And I heard Jim Jones talking about that, and I'm like, you know, it's the narrative that we put. We use that word often, all the way, all the time, because we want to dehumanize and diminish each other. That's not a word that white people use. You understand me? When they talking about each other consistently. The word grift, scam. These are words, when you see any words repeatedly used, these are psyops, right? It's not meaning that you're using the actual correct term based on the context of the situation and what happened, right? This is a way that you want it to be perceived because you're trying to destroy this person. right? White people sometimes they get venture capital money, man, and they get millions and they mess up 3-4 times and still get more money to reinvest again. They will get on, be at the dinners and talk about how they failed. And they start another business and start another business and start another business until they get it right.
I like
That's
that narrative.
That's the resilient mindset you was talking about.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that narrative warfare phrase because right now the biggest narrative warfare that we're facing now is they're trying to now paint black people to be the face of racism. Out of all the history in the country, they're trying to make us the face of racism. I'm seeing terms like white people or have black fatigue. They're being fatigued by black racism. Ooh. I recently seen a clip of Piers Morgan. He had Mark Lamont Hill. He had that goofy Myron Gaines, immigrant, self-hate. And he has some white chick who's obsessed with black people. I think she obsessed with black men. She really want a black man, which is why she be grifting us so hard.
That's the reason she keep black men in her mouth.
They had Mark Lamont Hill up there just for them to repeatedly use the N-word to trigger Mark Lamont Hill to crash out. And I'm saying, like, it's almost like watching the circus in a sense, because with the Carmelo Anthony case, white people are now using that to freely express their racism, but they're using it in a sense like they're defending themselves against us, even though the history of America has been them wiping out entire continents, wiping out entire tribes. And man, we all know the history of racism, but what you think about that, of them saying that we're the face of racism? Because I recently said black people can't be racist.
Yeah, that's
I don't give a fuck what you say. We cannot be racist. It's impossible.
Some of them, they hard are retarded. And, some of them, they got the psyop ran on them as well because they poor, they intellectually poor, they stupid, they are soft as hell, you feel me? For you to even be complaining about these things. And when you think about our level of resilience and what we went through, we would never complain about the things they complain about. If it wasn't attached to a long history of oppression and systematic racism and systematic injustices and slavery, you feel me, and bombing of 60 plus towns and experimentation and psychological operations and killing of leaders, you feel me, and all these other things, we wouldn't be complaining about this shit that they complain about. And at a point in time, and this is why you got to be careful on social media, because all of that shit on social media is a psyop. You understand me? All of it is to, number one, is to distract the poor white folks that are intellectually inferior and stupid, you feel me, to connect to these ideas that, it's black people that's the problem. Not the elites that's robbing y'all of y'all money. Not the elites that's pushing gas prices high and destroying the jobs and the economy. Not the elites, because there's not black men in them seats of power that's controlling the laws. Right? So you can't blame black people for the state of the country, but you're looking for a scapegoat to say that, because they culture bad, that's the issue with America. You understand me? It's really them just being stupid. And even buying into these narratives that they go push, because they go keep trying to run their operations. You feel me? But it creates this sense of nationalism within them. Because they have to figure out a way, if they look at their birth rates and they say we continuously declining, right? Well, how do we maintain power? That's why the whole time you complaining about black people and even immigrants, right? But the AIs is coming to take your job as well. The robots is coming to take your job as well. A black man ain't about to take your job, an AI is. So it's really the elites having a great plan to accelerate the downfall of America so they can replace it and privatize it while getting the people to fight against each other. And these plans have always been done since ancient Roman times. It's nothing new. Conquer. So this whole reverse racism is the softest thing I've ever seen in the history of mankind.
Yeah, because I said the only way to solve racism is to kill the racist. You think I'm being too extreme, or you think I got a point? Like, I'm gonna just flat out say it. There is no way possible to change the mind of a racist. They already have their mind made up. You're nothing.
I don't
You're
believe
scum.
in reforming.
You're not human. It doesn't matter how many great accomplishments you make. It doesn't matter how reformed you are. It doesn't matter how many good deeds you do for society. You're always going to be the N-word with the hard ER. The only way to solve that is to eliminate that person, period.
I think the only people that disagree with that are the racists. Straight up. I think I tend to go more with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's solution of just complete separation from the former slave master's children. If somebody is racist, fine. Just let me know who not to support. And I think what black people need to do more than what we're doing now is these economic boycotts. You feel me? Let everybody show their face. Track every expense that people send over to any racist organization and connection, right? And stop spending money with all of them. I promise you they tune to change, but it won't matter. You want to know who's racist and create a list of them and don't support them ever again. There's no, oh, we getting better. It's never again. You feel me? And I think that we need to be more organized on that front of saying that, yo, let's completely and 100% disconnect from giving them $1 because that's how you starve them out. You know how many people are depending on black labor and black money, right? They hate us until they got to use us. So what if we disconnect them and decolonize our culture like they doing in Burkina Faso where we stop doing deals with them? You understand me? We stop playing for them. We stop singing for them. You feel me? And what can they do without us? If the young black boys, they talking about Shadar Sanders was cocky. Well, if every black boy in the NFL was cocky, who else you still got to choose from?
Right, the NFL be no longer.
You still got to choose one of them regardless. It's just those that are willing to go along to get along. Those are the ones that make everybody else weaker because you're willing to acquiesce, you feel me, to the master because he got you, he caught you in survival mode. You feel me? So you feel like you don't have that leverage. And that goes to the point of being on code. But these devils go continue to do what these devils do. And, you know, my whole thing is, as long as you're interacting with that system, you're giving validity to it. Anybody arguing with a racist devil is a sucker. You feel me? Because they're pulling you into their net. Like, no, when you see them with their narratives, create a counter narrative. You understand me? The truth is the best thing you can hurdle at lies. It break everything down. Because everything that they talking about is built on lies. White supremacy, the idea of it is a lie. It's based on jealousy. You go out there and you see them 7-foot tall gods with all of that rhythm. You understand me? Moving, building out in ancient Mali and how the Moors built and how the Mississippian mound builders and the Mayans, you feel me? And how the Dogon people charting stars, man, you getting jealous of this stuff. And they not no evil people and trying to conquer you. They just want to teach you because they know you slow. You feel me? They want to teach you because they know you was dirty. You feel me? They know you smell when they went over there to Europe and like, why y'all took a bath in a week? Why would y'all install bathhouses and have perfume soaps? You feel me? When you go to ancient Cordoba in Spain, when it was all Moors and they had lit up cities 800 years before Paris. Before y'all went through y'all was in the dark age and brothers was in light. You know what I mean? Enjoying mathematics and astronomy and science. You feel me? Like, again, when we talk about narrative, we should really just be focusing on us actually learning true history, right? And building out the future. The devils go do what the devils do, but they actually need us to participate. They need our energy in their system. So a racist is going to put up a racist meme because it's also something that's memetic warfare, right? That meme warfare knows that the fact that we intaking so much information, we ain't got time to think. But a meme is a symbol. They did this in propaganda all the time. They show Idi Amin as like this fat, you know what I mean, oversized leader to try to dehumanize. But what it really does is it gets past your system two thinking. So now you're not overthinking it. They're suggesting ideas to you, and you may laugh along with it or think it's harmless, but they just supplanted an idea in your mind, and you ain't even realize. So now they plan it out with memes because a lot of these racists have low, you know what I mean, IQs and literacy, so they ain't gonna understand no complex ideas. So instead, just show them a picture, right? Like, you know how evil you have to be to curse out a kid and then give that person some money.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't feel sorry for the devils, but you got to call it is what it is. So spade is a spade, and I'm not about to interact with it. Y'all want to be devils, get that woman y'all money. You feel me? Fine. What are we getting behind?
And that's what we be big about staying on code, because we spoke on that, and a lot of our people were still supporting the racists and basically saying that the child was in the wrong. And the child shouldn't have done that, even being a 5-year-old baby, but just the fact with the disrespect.
Yeah, them the niggas you gotta cut their heads off.
Exactly them the ones we gotta weed out, in my opinion. So
yeah, because a lot of our leaders like to say, "Oh, we need to separate." Bro, we've done that before. We've separated. We've created Black Wall Street. We've created Black excellence. And when they're looking from across the land and they see us building, they view us as a threat, and they find a way to neutralize it every single time. So the plan can't be, to me, just separate, because even when we do just separate, they still find a way to come destroy what we building. That's why I like the movie Sinners, because the movie Sinners, to me, showed that. It was like we had the party, and then they found their way to the party. Either they was going to try to utilize our talents to, because the vampires represented like the record execs, right? They was going to come use the talent. Hey, come sell your soul to me. I can have you heaven on earth type shit. And that's what you see today. Is no matter what we do, they find a way to still find their way to us.
But we still even.
So when I be like, kill them, I like to say that because it gets people attention. I don't mean just start randomly going to kill white people. What I'm saying is when they come to us with violence, I don't preach turn the other cheek. Meet violence with violence. That's the only way to put it out, to me, in my opinion. What you think about that? Because in the movie Sinners, they sold him the house, and then at the end, they came to kill him. He didn't try to sit down and talk with him. No, he eliminated him. He eliminated the threat.
Yeah, he knew they was coming back. But I think I agree with that as far as people only respect the money or the violence at the end of the day. But I think far as us, just as a people, needs to be more. We need a different code of ethics. I think a lot of us now don't have no faith in a higher power. We don't have no morals. We don't have no principles. We don't stand on nothing. And when we see things going with our people, we just either we make memes out of it, we make jokes out of it. A lot of our people, we see celebrities get into the media and they go through something serious with their life, and we just excuse it and laugh about it. You're not going to see no other races tearing each other down to that level of extent that we do. So I think that's the biggest problem. Even right now, I just seen, like you just talked about the businesses. Black Sam got the Marathon Burger, been prospering. I just seen a video about 50 cop cars out front trying to damn near shut his store down for, I don't know the exact reasons of why yet, but I'm seeing that as him being a prosperous business, his store lining up every day. And in the name of Nipsey Hussle, he's trying to do something productive, and then they still come after it.
So how do we counter that? Because that's separation. He separated himself. He got a business in a prominent area, and they still finding a way to try to throw a monkey wrench in his plan. I've been to the Marathon Burger. It's peaceful out there. Nobody's gangbanging out there, and it's rival hoods out there, and everybody is hands off. Everybody's peaceful. They get their orders and they get on. I've never seen nothing rowdy going on at the Marathon Burger where 50 cop cars got to be there shaking people down. We know what's going on. So what are we doing as a community to aid them and to counteract this blatant attack?
But if you got 50 black men standing outside in a line, militant, right? Maybe bordering around a Marathon Burger. Whereas, if y'all come up here, this is where we are. You say meet violence with violence. I'm not necessarily saying to attack the police officers or attack the people coming up there, but let's have a presence of strong militant black men outside the Marathon Burger. When y'all come up here, this is what y'all gonna see. At that point, you guys have to make a decision on what you want to do, but we're ready to do whatever.
It's not just separation, it's complete separation. See, it's so many things that we unwilling to give up that make us still connected and make us soft targets and vulnerable. You know, complete separation means you give the enemy back everything he gave you. You feel me? From his spirituality, his systems, his tools, right? And you create parallel systems that are your own. The only one in America that had the most successful economic network was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's the only one in American history, only man in American history that had, and I mean, this was, you know, he passed in 1975. So this was a large economic network, right? Year after year, they would come together and talk about how much money that they were making. And in today's time, it had been around, you know, about $500 million, right? You're talking about airplanes. You're talking about schools. I'm talking about in all the major cities, too.
Yeah.
You're talking about the mosques. You have the brothers dressing a certain way,
Everything.
right? The restaurants, aviation, schools, trusts, own poultry, farms, everything that is like a dream of what you want. You feel me? Black men to have. When was the last time you think a school taught his blueprint?
They barely teaching us anything about us in the school.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't even know the last blueprints, which is why we don't follow them. You understand me? Like, it's not even in the mind. We'll go all the way to Black Wall Street and talk about when it failed. But all those 60 plus towns came afterwards, and it's a reason why he didn't just create a physical location, he created a network. And within that network, there's codes, there's rules, there's rituals, there's rites that you got to follow. You understand me? And to this day, the Nation of Islam has still survived, even though his son is the reason why the business is closed. So it wasn't that the enemy came and destroyed him, right? Like, there was the system of inheritance that ended up being an issue, but it still is a successful blueprint and a model that we could take. It's just never been reprised. Mm-hmm. So if we talking about separation and complete separation, some of our people can't go, man, because they so attached to the world. You feel me? And they clinging on to it. And these folks are trying to tell you, we don't want you. We don't want you around. Get off my goddamn foot. And they begging them to stay. And they go keep showing their colors because they know that they need, like, a black man cannot rise in their world. You can't have your own and we have our own. They not a people that live in harmony. People that live in harmony live different, they grow different, they build their society different. They build societies in alignment with the cosmos because they're always trying to figure out how do we stay in harmony with the planet Earth so that we ain't got to keep creating new things. We can make this thing last forever. That's how original people always built. So in America, it's always more and more and more. It's always conquer, dominate, 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 dominate. So you're seeing the clashing of two people. One, they say, I have enough, and the other one say, I need more. You know what I mean? So now when you across the street and you have your own, they say, I need that too. Why you need what I got? You don't know the concept of enough. They attribute their success to greed. They need more forever and ever and ever. And then we start wanting to be like them. And that's when we start destroying each other and never having enough. Because we trying to get so far out of survival mode that we pushing more of our people into it, trying to control and dominate and conquer. So when we talk about complete separation, how many people you think are willing really to give up, right? Being in the grips of the enemy and the so-called rewards and favor that they think come along with it. You really gonna stop eating their food, watching their sports, you know what I mean? Following their religion, you understand me? Moving in the way that they want you to. Not too many people are ready for that, which is why a lot of people kind of give you a softer rendition of what the evolution is. You feel me? Because they believe that if we can first help you with the mental resilience and get you to think, you're going to come to this conclusion yourself, right? But it has to be a dominant frequency. It can't just be 19 keys say it. Y'all got to say it every other podcast. Then we got to call out the niggas who ain't doing it because niggas will sell you gambling, they will sell you liquor, they will sell you weed, and then at the same time try to tell you to make a good decision. Man, the nigga mind fucked up because your sponsor is controlling what you gonna say. You understand me? And you can't say nothing because you have to continue to cultivate an audience that the sponsors can sell to. So if they become higher level, you understand me? Then how you go sell them the liquor and the gambling?
Right.
So how is black media being ran? You understand? But about liquor and gambling, that means that they're choosing who they promote and who grows. It ain't that y'all ain't got great content. It's that the sponsors say, man, y'all talking about some things that we don't want to get behind. But why not? If we trying to save the people, if we trying to elevate people, and then you go look at, okay, well, white folks don't want to do it. Fine. How come it ain't no black man doing that? Niggas talking about how they got millions and billions of dollars. How many of them you see go around and spending that on something that elevates the culture?
See, this is why I always go back to violence. They be telling me I'm too radical, but at the end of the day, like bro said, they respect money and violence. So you say completely detaching. That means also completely detaching from their man-made laws. But so if we see something like the Rodney Hitton case where a cop downs an unarmed black kid running away from him, at that point, if we're completely detached, then that means it's on us and whatever we deem as our law enforcement to go get our justice. So when I'm looking at our community, and all we want to do is just march and hold up signs all day, that's not being respected.
But all the killers is killing each other. Mm-hmm. All the killers is killing each other. Go listen to a rap song. You name me one rap song, he talking about killing a white man in the last 5 years, 10 years. It's all about hunting niggas. We the number one enemy. When we start rapping about killing each other, You understand me? All the killers is busy killing each other. So who gonna do the killing?
But that's where the programming come in at. We got to reprogram the minds of us, period.
And it got to be militant and organized. And there's only one militant and organized organization in Black American history that has longevity, and that's the Nation of Islam. But who's willing to sign up?
But we have, in my opinion, our culture has Stockholm syndrome, right? Like we are in love with our captors, which is white America. And like you said, a lot of us don't want to give up the food. We don't want to give up the religion. We don't want to give up the certain benefits that the capitalistic society has afforded us, or at least that we think. And I also think that a lot of our people have went through the narrative warfare on the Nation of Islam. Because in my opinion, I think a lot of Black people felt that it was an extremist group and they were sold certain lies of it being an extremist group, and also not necessarily changing the lives of Black men. Where if you do go outside, you can see former pimps, drug dealers, gangsters, went through prison, all reformed and rejuvenated amongst the Nation of Islam. And so I think a lot of people, our people, bought into that lie that it was an extremist group with no actual solutions being put in place. In my opinion, even if you think it's an extremist group, we need an extreme solution for an extreme problem. And I think a lot of our people don't want to do what it takes to be on that higher level, right? Which is getting in shape from the inside and the out. What you put in your body food wise, what you ingest media wise, what you read and research, and the knowledge you intake, the way you treat one another. These things, it's hard for people to do. And I think they're afraid of what's on the other side. And that's the reason why they don't do it and why they're okay with being in love with our captors.
I disagree with that, though. I don't think a lot of us don't want to. I just think a lot of us look around and see we're a product of the system we're living in now. And no one has a system that opposes this system that is shown to be effective for all of us. Like, we can line up and identify with whatever religion you want. That religion is still operating under modern society. We don't have no big farmers that's Black. We don't have no education system that's Black. Like, we don't have any major infrastructures that's Black to say, hey, let's completely disassociate with this and we're going to do this. Because if we had that, I don't know no niggas nowhere who wouldn't rock with that.
But my thing to that is, like, when we talk about the blueprint of the Nation of Islam, imagine if the 2 million or 3 million people that feel they're just a product said, you know what, let's take a chance on this. What if the doctors that were stuck in that capitalistic society said, you know what, I'm gonna go be a doctor for them? What if the bankers and the finance men came and said, I'm gonna be finance for them? Real estate agents said, I'm gonna do it for them. The builders, the blue collar workers said, I'm gonna do it for them and not them. So I think that, again, we're just suffering from a Stockholm syndrome of being in love with our captors, because, and I think we don't want to do it. I mean, I get what you're saying to a certain degree of how we look at it, but I think it's a conscious decision at this point of, we see certain industries and certain infrastructures that with our help could take it to the next level, but we are too afraid. And I think we think too low of ourselves to try to reach for that and actually step a foot and do it.
I think another big part, I always say, is like cultivating the minds, because a lot of our minds, we've been taught certain things, or we've been programmed a certain way to a point where you don't even know you programmed, and now you're caught up in a sense of a same cycle. You're stuck in a cycle. And if I sit here and tell you that everything that somebody taught you and everything that you know was a lie, it's like you're questioning your own existence, your own belief. And people don't want to go deep dive into themselves and understand, why do I think like this? Why am I even like that? Why do I believe in this? A lot of beliefs people got is you got from your parents that probably didn't know what they was doing, and they could have been wrong, but you ain't gonna question it. You're gonna look at it like, oh, nah, this is what my mama taught me. And don't let your mama or father not be here no more. You like, this, I'm sticking with this for life. Regardless if this was wrong or right, people are going to be more ignorant to the fact of relearning new information. And I think reprogramming our minds is what's going to be the biggest key, because that's what, like you were just saying earlier, staying on lower frequencies. We're going to stay on a lower frequency long as we drunk every day, long as we smoking, long as we looking to kill something, and long as we're not trying to elevate and be on that type of time. And 9 times out of 10, the things that we focus on is what we creating. Majority of the people I know in the ghetto focus on everything that they don't want. You will never have conversation about things that you do want. We never have conversations about the future, what's going on now, and then you're going to complain about everything that you don't want going on in your life, in my opinion.
Now, that's fact. That's why I like to start with small things, because to accomplish great things, it's small cumulative things built up that you accomplished over time. So something as simple as staying on code, we're having an issue just doing that on things that's like open and shut. Look at the Diddy case. How many people ran out there, ridiculed Diddy online from our culture? Whether he did it or not, we don't have the facts to know if he did it, but we ran with the narrative that they gave us. We smeared him. We couldn't even just stay on code with that. They got Harvey Weinstein. They got dude from Nickelodeon. They got Epstein. They got all type of people with the same type of charges or worse, and you don't see any of their platforms even talking about it. So they know how to stay on code. So before we can do all these infrastructures and this and that, we got to be able to just accomplish small things. Like, okay, let's back each other. Something as simple as that.
Yeah, what you're talking about is key. A lot of it though happens behind the scenes. You gotta, you when you want to change the people, you don't have to go directly to the people. You go to who influences the people and what influences them, and you create an environment that starts to shift and create subtle changes, and they're not even realizing it. The same thing that gets us to go into a negative direction can be the same thing that gets us to go into a higher direction. You feel me? So, without saying too much, let's just say, or actually I use this example. It's this guy by the name of Curtis Yarvin. Curtis Yarvin goes by Mendia's Bug or something like that. It's like this pseudonym. He started writing these philosophies about 10 years ago about, how we should have the end of democracy, right? And how we should create a monarchy and how we should essentially go through accelerationism, which is pushing the destruction of America to replace it with private systems. Now, all of those things that I'm talking about is essentially what this current MAGA administration is doing, right? This particular guy, Curtis Yarvin, was funded by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, he was the head of the PayPal Mafia. PayPal Mafia essentially run the world. In Japanese terms, they'd be considered a kuratsu. A kuratsu is like a group of companies that look out for each other. They invest in each other, they protect each other in case there's any outside threats. So they become super resilient if you're a part of a kuratsu, right? So you got to imagine if there's a media kuratsu behind the scenes, then everybody's pushing the same narrative. We all invest in each other. Nobody is going to fall. The problem is a lot of us are out there by themselves. Getting back to the Curtis Yarvin thing, we often say white people don't have leaders. They do. They're just considered to be like philosophers and thought leaders. They're not the revolutionary out the front that you got to see. But then how do you think a guy like Charlie Kirk gets funded? You understand me? The guy Curtis Yarvin wrote all these philosophies, and guess who picked them up? J.D. Vance. Guess who put money in J.D. Vance's pocket? Peter Thiel. Guess who's Peter Thiel's partner? Elon Musk. Guess who got Donald Trump elected? You understand me? Like, then what did they do is they took all of the MAGA podcasts and started creating a red shift. Things that were just about sports or comedy and entertainment. They started putting on guests to get them to start talking about politics and ideas that they believe in. So now they're spreading their ideas and influencing millions and millions of people and priming the audience. So when it's time for them to go vote, right, they're putting in the candidate that they want. Now, there's no level of intentionality like that currently built into our systems. It's possible for it to happen. There's many things that go along that way. But if we look at it and say, okay, what is the political spectrum of the Black podcasts? What do they talk about? What do they lean towards? What is their agenda? What are they pushing to? We can't really speak towards a thread that we all have in common. We can't. So then you think about, okay, well, who could be a funder of these things in the first place? We ain't got to name names, but there's many people who have capital, but they're afraid to do that thing. That's why when our generation is a little different, a lot of them, we got to say F a lot of the OGs that came before because they're unwilling to do the thing that empowers us because they money, they lifestyle is so interconnected. You feel me? With the very oppressors that they will fight against us before they fight against them. So that's why, like, again, the reason that I'm here and I want to help support y'all platform because y'all a bridge. You feel me? Like there's another million yous that think like you, but need some guidance because they ain't got time to think because you in survival mode. So it's like, man, when they come and listen to y'all, they feel seen, they feel heard, and the information that you give them is key. But you don't want to be dependent only on what you know. I don't want to be dependent only on what I know. I want to be connected to higher forms of information. So when I am building up my platform, now I'm spreading the right seeds and the right keys. You feel me? Because if we limited by what we know, then we're only going to grow as far as what we know, which means our access, our resources. I done traveled around the world just to go get some information. So now I'm bringing a whole different perspective that Buddy will never be able to get. You feel me? So I'm never even just speaking from my perspective. I'm speaking from a higher perspective that it may even take me some while to understand. But because it came from a source of wisdom, I don't need to understand it. I just need to follow it. You feel me? That's what a good general do. A good soldier just follow the orders. He might not understand what the hell and why the hell, it don't matter. Are you gonna get it done? You feel me? I know I grew up being a soldier. I know when it's time for me to follow orders. I don't want to go do certain so-and-so, but it ain't got nothing to do with my emotions. It ain't got nothing to do with my feelings. Do I have that ability to get it done regardless of how I feel? And as Black men, we are the ones at the forefront that if we can goddamn elevate the consciousness of Black men across the world to see themselves beyond their circumstance, to do the thing that they supposed to do even when they don't want to do it, to look out for each other. To when I see my brother, I don't see a target. I don't see somebody trying to target me. You feel me? It's love, it's energy. Like that brother feeling ain't there. Like we really be like, man, I gotta watch out for bro. I don't know. You feel me? Like that's the type of energy we gotta kill, but it's gonna take a while because you don't want your guard to be down and he really be for the other side. You feel me? So this cultivation, again, it goes into the music, goes into the lanes, goes into our dress, the way we spend our money. It goes into our spirituality. It has to be so complex that it can't be broken down by one thing. You feel me? If it's in the movies and the music and the energy, if it's everywhere, it's going to reinforce you. But if it's only in like one thing, you feel me? It's not strong enough for it to last. It's not resilient enough. That's why I say in complexity, you feel me? It's consciousness, higher consciousness. That's where you got more control. But shit don't be complex enough. It'd be too simple.
We could start simple though. We could start by stop having abortions. This don't get talked about enough. Since the inception of abortions, we've had about 19 million Black abortions. So just think about that number. Imagine a million more 19 Keyses. Imagine a million more Viral. Imagine a million more Malcolms that y'all voluntarily eliminated before they had a chance to even blossom. So we out here fighting a warfare. Margaret Sanger, look her up and look what her message was. So if you're a Black woman or a Black man funding and supporting abortion, you are funding your own genocide. Think about that. Your enemy's not doing it. You're voluntarily funding your own genocide. Think about how much money we would have flowing in the community with 19 more million of us like-minded, vibrating on a higher frequency. Because it's strength in numbers. In California, we're outnumbered a lot. I've been all over Cali. I'm all over the city, Lakewood, the Long Beach, LA. I don't care where you go. We're the minority out here. So just imagine another million of us out here.
But even with that concept, we don't have no unity in the communities with the numbers we got now. So even producing, not saying that they should not be producing, but even producing more, it'd just be creating more of the chaos in a sense. Because now we have a gang of more babies that's growing up and raised by the single mothers or raised by the broken families. And then what does that ultimately determine when we see that happening?
But this is why I said like-minded. And this is why I also said we need a system, because the feminist system put this ideology in our minds, in our women's minds, where they empowered them with money and positions in the workforce where they feel like they don't need us anymore. We don't need the Black man because we have the man. So I don't got to go to my husband for money because this white business owner or whatever color business owner is paying me. So I don't really got to listen to what the fuck you saying no more. I don't got to listen to your direction. I'm strong, independent. And this is the result of that. We got to get back to our system. That's what I'm saying. It starts with the mindset.
I think that in order to stop the what, you got to get into the why. You understand me? And it has to be a counteractive warfare. So there was a lot of, again, loneliness is as dangerous as 15 cigarettes a day, right? And when people lonely, they look for connection. When Black women felt lonely at a time where Black men going to war or they outside or working, they start looking for connection. You understand me? They start connecting to ideas that weren't going to be beneficial to them, but they didn't know. You understand me? Because white women co-opted them talking about feminism, right? But the question becomes is why were they so susceptible to the ideology in the first place? This is how you stop it. When somebody say, how do you protect it? You have to develop a certain mental defense so that these ideas can't enter the community. You understand me? Because the most dangerous thing, again, goes back to the cognitive security, right? It could be your own child. Your own child could grow up in the where they go to school and they start believing in abortions, you feel me, as a viable option because of they didn't pick the right partner or, you know, they had sex too early or they don't believe in children, right? Whatever it may be. How are you going to stop your child from believing in those things? So again, like the mental defense, the self-awareness, the knowledge of self, the culture that we cultivate inside the house, the aligning of those values and teaching and then training them into these children early and making sure that there's an environment so that those ideas and those psyops can't be ran on is where it begins.
You got kids?
Not yet. I'm working on them.
Okay. Yeah, because, man, I'm telling you, it's a different warfare. We're not just fighting being programmed at school. We're fighting against
that
this.
phone, the most dangerous
We're fighting
place
against
on the
this
planet.
and this. I don't care. You could talk to you blue in the fucking face. This
Most
is what we
dangerous place
fighting
on the
against.
planet.
Because this is more influential than you. Like you said, the community needs something they can identify with, something that's cool. That's who they take the message from. Pops going to work a 9 to 5 ain't cool. When I'm on YouTube and I see Andrew Tate in the Lambo and he's saying, you ain't shit if you ain't got one.
Right.
Oh, yo, I see the rapper saying, you ain't shit if you ain't scamming.
Right.
And then they see you coming home tired as hell, broke as hell. They can't get the new Jordans till next payday. So what they gonna do? They're gonna follow this. Not shitting on Andrew Tate because I like a lot of stuff that he says, but just using him as an example. So what advice would you give parents that's battling this?
Again, that goes to the environment, like cognitive security. Like is as a parent, you have to know how to create an environment for that child and help that child develop a level of self-awareness and identity. Because what happens is people start looking for themselves, right? Who do I need to become in order to get that? So if you're not developing a level of self-awareness in that child, the only way to stop somebody from being gaslit or brainwashed, you understand me, or one of it, is that they are extremely self-aware. This is who you are. Nobody in the world can tell you who you are. You understand me? When you're alone and you by yourself and you start looking for purpose in the world, you go look for it in a Andrew Tate. You go look for it in a Charleston White. You go look for it in whatever the other niggas that they out here following, because you're looking for something to connect to so that you can develop an identity. So if that's not being formulated in the household in the formative years, which is like between 1 through like 6, which is the most formative years of you helping them develop their identity, then anytime they pick up the phone, they're not going to filter it through their identity. They're going to filter it possibly of who they are, think that this is them and what they can become, because you start mirroring the algorithm, right? If you see your father and he's teaching you, man, this is what you can do, this is who we are. And again, it goes back to the complexity, because when I was younger, you feel me? We said that the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the God of the universe. We had to learn actual facts. We had things called student Roman. We had English lesson C1. You feel me? We had to learn militant drilling. We had to learn history of the planet Earth. You feel me? And who we were. It wasn't no just simplistic thing. So when I go to school and I'm amongst other people, I got all of this complex thinking in front of you and me, and it's gonna make it very hard for you to manipulate me. You feel me? Because now my folks, my mom and my pops done told me who a devil is. Mm-hmm. They told me how men get manipulated. They told me who I am. They told me that no, our stories ain't just in slaves and chains. We was warriors fighting wars. You feel me? They told me about the Enlightenment age, and whatever they didn't tell me, it made me curious enough for me to seek myself. You feel me? So that identity made me have a different taste in music. Made me have a different taste in what I wear, what I eat, the way I think. That makes it hard for your child to be manipulated. But up until those ages of 6, you have to be careful, because, you know, you can raise a child as much as you want to, but you never know what experiences happen. You feel me? And that's where rites of passage come in. You have to prepare that child, not protect them. You can't protect them from the world. You can't stop them from being online completely. You prepare them so that they know how these things can affect them. So now they got a mental defense. This is going to be more important than physical defense in the future. Like them being able to not be co-opted by ideas that's not their own. You understand me? When they get on this phone, not when they leave the house, while they still in your house, sitting right next to you, getting an idea that is completely foreign to you, and you like, who the hell is my child becoming? You got to be careful sending your child in front of Coco Melon so that they can go goddamn watch her because you don't feel like watching your child. And that's why it's important, as we talk about like abortions, we have to have an economic system set up so that we actually have time to watch our children and develop them and put them in schools, private schools that we can create, or a home school so that we can teach them what we want to teach them and put the narratives of who they are in their head. The most dangerous thing on the planet Earth is letting your enemy watch your children and teach your children. That's when your children become your enemy.
Bars.
Financial literacy, I think it's something that has become a pretty hot topic within the Black community in these last few years. I usually see financial literacy being taught through entrepreneurship most of the time.
Yeah.
And while I agree with being an entrepreneur, I think that, small bricks build big houses. So do you think that the only way to teach financial literacy is through entrepreneurship? Because in my opinion, I don't think at this moment in time, everybody's going to be an entrepreneur, so to say. So I think there's a thing about saving, investing, stocks, options, right? Your Roth IRA, however you want to do it, there's these things that you can do to make you a little bit more financially free and also increases financial literacy. I feel like most of the time and most of the teachers that we have out there push just entrepreneurship or go get an LLC, go get an S Corp, and start a business. But even when you start that business, if you don't have the financial literacy, then you're pretty much just working to keep this up. Because if I don't know how to stack bread, if I don't know how to go take it and put it into something that's going to get me interest, if I don't know how to, take money that I don't necessarily need to survive and put it in stocks and just let it go and hold it, then how do I ever get off of the rat race? How do I ever get off of the hamster wheel? And I think that people who are just regular 9-to-5 workers don't even believe in financial literacy all the way because they don't think that the small amount of money that they have can function for them if they use it properly. So I feel like it's a 0 to 100, where it's like either I'm a 9-to-5 worker and I'm struggling, or I become an entrepreneur and I'm supposed to just crack. Do you think that, and I think that's because a lot of our teachers teach just financial literacy through entrepreneurship and not necessarily making smart financial decisions and, gaining more knowledge within finances. So do you think that we can teach it through other things than just entrepreneurship?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, financial literacy is not about entrepreneurship. It's just about having an understanding of finances and the system and the way things work. Same thing like economic literacy is about understanding how, economics affect you. You understand me, in the world around you. And it's more so just being aware. But again, I don't think like financial literacy is what directly creates wealth. You feel me? But it does give you an understanding of how wealth works, right? And it gives you the options to express yourself, right, in a financial way. You understand money the right way, right? And beyond just entrepreneurship, it's like we're in the age of AI, so it's about the skills that you develop. You understand me? 90% of the jobs that's going to be created in the future, they don't exist. 80% of the jobs we have now didn't exist 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right? So you're more so preparing yourself for a world to come. Because if we talking about like cryptocurrency, what would crypto be in the future, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? I can always tell you to go buy Bitcoin, that's short digital gold. You understand me? I can't tell you exactly where Ethereum go be or XRP, but I know that one of the biggest issues that we have is financial nihilism, right? Financial nihilism is that, again, we think the system is rigged. So why participate anyway if somebody else owns everything?
Yeah.
Right? So therefore we like, you know what? I'm just gonna gamble and take risk. That's why gambling works so well. You feel me? You gonna push gambling to somebody who don't believe in the system because they trying to get ahead. Now, there's some, I would say, reality to that in the fact that like they are trying to replace people with robots and jobs, and there's a small percentage of people who are focused on, okay, how do I develop skill sets for the new world to come? AI skills, right? But then as we talking about directly when it comes to money, I think our money relationships are all messed up. We got a lot of financial trauma. We got poverty-induced stress disorder, meaning that the stress that comes from poverty makes us sick, and then we don't have money to afford to get ourselves together, which makes us even poor, right? So you get stuck in a cycle. And that's why I think that as we talk about finances, it really goes to mental well-being. Understanding what is the idea of success in the first place, right? If you don't even have an idea of success, how do you know when you're successful? You're always chasing what success looks like on other people. Mm-hmm. Just because bro got a Lambo and he like to goddamn stun his lifestyle don't mean you need none of that to be happy. You understand me? Because the average person have the average things and they just looking at how do I be content with what I have? I think social media is the most destructive thing, because it doesn't allow you to know when enough is enough. And then the world is focusing on wage suppression. You understand me? To where they're not trying to pay people more and they want to pay robots instead. So it puts this concern on you. But what do? You definitely want to decrease your spending during this time.
Definitely.
Right? You figure out any way to increase your earnings. You understand me? Whether that's developing some digital skills, right? I would continue my education, right? Not just formal education, but something to where I'm getting consistent learning over time so that I'm growing as the world is growing. You understand me? You would focus on, of course, always getting your credit right, trying to see if you can get some land. I work with my brothers at Acre Boys. Landowners always win through all shifts on the planet Earth, because no matter what, you got to build whatever you're trying to build on land. You understand me? You're going to always need that land. Then focus on the net worth for the family. You understand me? Like, we don't talk about net worths a lot because we know we're not worth a lot, right? But if we focus on it, we put intention there, we look at our debt, right? We look at our income, right? And then we look at our assets. And that's the equation. So how many assets do you have? We can be taking 5% of our check, 10% and buying gold every month, or stocking up on silver. Those are assets that goes towards your net worth. You can be decreasing the amount of money you spend. It's going to be a sacrifice that you're going to have in a certain area, right? Look, 50% of America is obese. That's 50% of our budget right there that could be going to creating our own thing. Yeah. You understand me? I'm just saying we overeating, we over consuming. So again, when we looking at it, we going into credit, we going into setting up trust. These things may not be for you now, but if you don't have them in mind at all, they'll never be for you ever. You understand me? So you get an exposure to understand these things, but more so they need to become financial standards and wealth standards in the family of how we operate. Because there's a lot of women that have money that's lonely, and now they are the ones that have the average of $38,000 in debt, and now the government is coming for their loan money. You understand me? So now they're putting undue burdens on them. So now, you don't have as much wealth as you thought you had, right? And by yourself, couples make more money together, right? There's less rent. You understand me? Somebody is cooking. There's less going out to eat. Right? You're more mentally and emotionally stable, so you're going out less in the first place. Like, all of these things matter if we're talking about family, right? Like, family is always going to be at the key of this. And then our ego, like, they sell us brands to make us feel like we have something, but we don't need it. You feel me? When you mentally stable, you go spend less money because you don't need to buy these things to feel like something, to fulfill yourself, right? But again, financial literacy is definitely 100,000% important for our community. I think it's just us understanding what our goals are and understanding the education that we need in order to meet those goals, right? Knowing what you need to save, knowing what you need to be investing into. It don't matter if you have $0, thinking about when you have money, how you're going to be, creating a portfolio. Do I put some in crypto? Do I put some in gold? The dollar cost average, which is just setting up an automated way, whether you're putting in $5 or $10 into the stock market, you have something working, and at least putting your mind there to start thinking of the future, because you rob your future self for everything that you don't do today. So for every dollar you don't have today is something you didn't do yesterday or last year. You understand me? And every dollar you won't have next year is because of you didn't put away or invest in today. Right? We got to probably about a good 2 years before we go through a completely different economic system and or collapse, right? And so you want to be trying to earn as much as possible, invest as much as possible, save as much as possible, right? Put it in things that you can get consistent rewards and returns over time, but more so like your family. Like the people that you connected with, I think are the most important thing ever. Because even if you rich and you solo, you still vulnerable. You feel me? You want to have a team. You want to have family meetings where y'all come together and saying, all right, you know, how we go get to this first 10,000? Then when we get to the 10,000, how we go spend it? What we go put it on? What we go put it in? How much money we need for emergencies? You understand me? Okay, who is the one that we can invest in the family? Right? No, it ain't all about entrepreneurship. It's really just about having a financial understanding. I'll give you the last example. Indian women hold the most gold than any other people on the planet. Right? Why? Because they're naturally just taught that growing up. It's not financial literacy to them. It's just a cultural thing. So I don't want it to be radical. I want it to just be normal, right? It's just a normal thing. It's a normal conversation that we have. Every single podcast in the world just talked about buying gold and saving gold. Then black people just start doing it, whether they understood it or not. And it'd be beneficial to them, whether they understood it or not. If we say buy land, you understand me? You will be searching to buy land. Then we have more conversations on how you can go get it from these tax events. You feel me? That happen when the government is auctioning them off and you start looking for lots of land. Then we have more conversations on what we could be building on the land. You understand me? If we talking about entrepreneurship, there's many industries we don't get in. I would say the bigger issue is the type of industry that we going in and we start overcrowding and competing with each other.
Oversaturation.
No, compete with them other people for businesses that you think are boring and non-sexy. You understand me? Ain't nothing wrong with getting you a plumbing business. If you got the money is sexy. You feel me? She still gonna want you. I think that men be thinking that, you know, you gotta goddamn be 19 keys in order to get them. Like, no, it's only one of me.
Look, I'm gonna give an unpopular opinion. I'm gonna speak for the working class. You can't save or invest what you don't have. At some point, we have to stop blaming people, claiming they're living above their means, and we really got to start looking at these politicians and these policies. There's no reason in the world California's gas is $5 right now, while the rest of the world or the rest of the U.S. is floating at around $2.
This is real.
2 refineries are about to leave California. They're estimating our gas is going to be back up at about $8 by the end of the year. At some point, we got to look at the politicians going, man, I'm saving as much as I can. I'm investing as much as I can. I'm not even earning enough to do that. When they made the mark of $100,000 is upper middle class, the equivalent of that today is about $300. I mean, excuse me, $300. About $300,000. So if you look at what percentage of people make that, it's slim to none. So if you're in California and you now earn $100,000, you're lower class. You're considered poor. Take that same $100,000, go to Texas, go to somewhere in the South. You're upper middle class. So at some point, when do we look at our policies and the politicians that are financially crippling the people that live here purposely? This ain't an accident. Why are we still paying income taxes? That shit was created to help fund the Civil War. Civil War been over. Why are we still paying taxes?
Yeah.
Explain that. You go to work, you work 80 hours, you work overtime. The more you work, the more they take. It's not even like it's a set rate. Nigga, the more I make, the more you take.
Yeah.
I agree with
Like the U.S. existed before income taxes. So all that, oh man, what are we gonna do with it? Study history, like he said. When you study and see, well, goddamn, we was already prospering before this was even invented. Before the bankers, before this whole system that's financially raping us all. We were prospering. So at what point do we sit down and go, man, these policies, this shit ain't working. We got to come up with another blueprint.
You said something real. And I'm glad you said that. Because financial literacy won't get us free. It's not the thing that's going to free us. You understand me? It's the knowledge you have when you do have the resources or you're planning for those resources. But there's more millionaires than ever, right? The gap between like the worker and the CEO is like 10 times bigger. Right? We judge the economy by how much money the wealthy are making. Right? When we say wage suppression, it's because when they start talking about AI and robots, they're not trying to pay people more. They don't want you to have a greater quality of living. They don't want to give you more money to earn a living. Right? They want to keep accelerating technology at what cost? For what reason? We got more technology than we ever goddamn need. Right? So 100%, when you're talking about local things that affect people, I'll give you an example. I was in Kansas City, and it was this local business owner. He got a juice shop. I believe it's called Miss Ruby's Juices. And at the corner, he trying to get his street name changed because it's like this old racist Confederate name, and he's been doing a lot of work for the community, right? And he was explaining to us that the people that's on like food stamps and that's on some of the other aid, they can't come into the store because it doesn't allow for them to spend it on fresh foods. But he like, man, if we could just change that, right, this would increase my business like 50 to 100%, right? Because the people that can't afford can't even utilize the aid that they're getting to come in and spend on healthy food. And I'm like, man, see, for something like that, you could organize your city. Let's say something like that goes viral, and you go to, you know, your local person that you need to, the mayor, whoever, and say, this is a bill that we want to have changed. You change that bill, you understand me? Now, all of a sudden, those people are able to shop there. He able to hire more people, and it starts to create, you understand me, an economic effect. And I bring that up because this is how politics can really work. You feel me? Like, it really works if you have an intention and you understand the economic impact that it has. But we don't be thinking about those small things that can affect somebody's livelihood, right? And that's where typically what you would do is you would have like a research and development program to say, okay, if we really want to change the hood, right? We really want to change America, what is the thing we should be putting our money behind? So you would typically go to a research firm, they'll study these solutions that we have, and then they'll run the numbers to see if the impact will actually go there if we put the energy behind it. Because sometimes we just experiment trying to see what work. You feel me? And that's where it comes real important when we talking about increasing the quality of life for people. You understand me? Can you afford to just go take one vacation a year?
They tell you that's living above your means. The basic necessities, they are trying to psyop you into believing that's living above your means. There was a time where your mom didn't have to work. Your pops going down to the factory was enough to buy you a house, a car, and a couple family vacations a year. Why are both parents working, making six figures, and still scraping to get by? Is something flawed with the system at this point? When you look at the cost of a house, you and your kids, by the time y'all both deceased, still ain't made enough to pay it off. There's something wrong with the system. And if you do manage to pay it off and you slip up on a couple taxes after you done already spent 30 years, now the property tax, you miss a couple payments, the house is gone. I just spent 30 years paying this house off. Why am I still paying taxes on it? At some point, we really got to start questioning the system. Not that it's working against us and we can't prosper, because all of us up here are prospering.
Yeah.
We done been to jail, prison, got felonies, everything, and still prospering. Still at some of the highest percentages of the population as far as success goes. Financially, health, you name it. But at some point, we got to look around at our community going, all of this shit ain't their fault.
No, for sure. And I definitely agree we have to take a look at the, politics in the system. But I feel like, especially if you looked into every home, how many people bought a car they couldn't afford, right? How many people went in the credit card debt they probably couldn't pay off to get the trip or the thing that they wanted that they could have held off on? How many people was running up Klarna, DoorDash, they got 50 subscriptions, they're buying the J's, they got the money for that, but maybe they are paying a bill late when it comes to rent or gas or whatever the case is. So I agree that we have to take a look at the system, but I also think we have to have accountability on ourselves. Is when we get our money, what are we doing with it? A lot of us are going into debt over things that we don't necessarily need to look a certain way to appease to others. When if you just said, you know what, I'm gonna go get the bucket for $5,000 instead of going and get the bucket or going to get the charger or whatever for $50,000. Now I got $1,000 payment because my credit is below 600. And if within our community, our average credit score, I believe, is 610, 620. So it's like we do these things that put us in these financial bonds for years on time, and then we are barely getting ahead, or we're underwater trying to pay for all of these different things. If you took a look into a lot of things that people have, if they just scaled back a little bit and didn't worry so much about the look of things and how they're perceived to people, they would maybe have a little bit of extra money to do some things. Now, again, I understand things have gotten expensive, but things have gotten expensive and you're still trying to buy the charger. You're still getting a new credit card. You're still getting a new subscription. You're still buying the J's every week. You're still doing these things instead of taking the $200, $300 I have for a pair of shoes, let me take it and put it over here. So I think a lot of it is us prioritizing what we put our money into.
I think that's a small percent, because Bro basically just gave an example of somebody that should be making a certain amount of money, two people who should be making a certain amount of money and still be able to take them trips and still be able to put their kids in sports and still be able to have a quality of life. It's still not, the scale is tipping to where it's not even nowhere near balanced. The way the prices is, the same way you can go buy some fruit that's way more than you can go buy 4 pieces of candy or some junk. It's not, a lot of these things are not by are by design, in my opinion. The way gas is, a lot of that stuff is a problem. People would choose to go get their kids a whole stock load of candy because they can spend $60 to $100 versus go fill the refrigerator up with some fruit. If you're not conscious of knowing that things that you eat are really affecting your moods and your energy in your mind. People not thinking like that. So regardless of, yeah, people do make bad choices, but they're already living bad. That's why. So a lot of them choices are going to be made because maybe that one time they get to go take that trip versus they still going to be dead broke anyway.
No, God.
So,
Because look, you said the credit system, right? You take you 5-10 years to get your perfect credit score. You miss 1 or 2 payments, your shit is back plummeted. And it take how many years to get off your credit score? How does that make sense? So little things like that is what I mean by the system is designed that way. We go in debt, we've damn near fucked for life. They go in debt, they get bailouts.
See, but I don't necessarily think that's true because we're talking about the average person. So when you say they, who are you talking about? Because when average white, black, Mexican person is, we're all in a certain bind. We're all taking out loans. We're all getting a car. We're all spending money on minuscule things that we don't necessarily need. Like what you just said. Somebody will go to the Carl's Jr. every day. And by the time Sunday hit, they done spent $100 on food. Whereas if you bought your groceries at the beginning of the week, that'll last you for a certain amount of time to where you don't have to do it again. If you filled up your tank and put the $50 in the beginning of the week and rolled it out until it went to eat, that's going to stop you from them spending 70, 80, where you got to go every 2 days and put another 20, put another 30. So I think there's certain things that we do. Again, we can credit it to how we're raised and certain things that we have learned over time. But I think at some point with the knowledge out there has to be some accountability where it's like we're making negative financial decisions.
When I say they, I was talking about the elites. I'm not talking about regular, everyday, working class people. It's different rules for them than it is down here. Like I said, when they make a bad financial decision, they get a bailout. Yeah. It's not put on their record. When you get a bad financial decision, it's here, pay this debt collector. And by the way, when you pay it off, this shit's still on your record anyway, which is why people be like, fuck that, I'm not even paying. What's the point of paying? When you run my credit, it's still on there. It ain't like you took it off. I'm still being dinged for something that I paid for. So I try to correct my screw up and I'm still being dinged.
Yeah, I mean, even with stuff like that, those goes into like consumer laws to where you can get stuff written off. I think the problem is, again, both of y'all right. There's a level of personal responsibility, then there's institutional responsibility. Because they're not trying to, like, California is the most expensive place in America, unnecessarily expensive. They keep going higher, but the quality of living going lower. You understand me? It's not that many things for people to do. You understand me? Then people are online comparing things that they don't have. It's like if you took people to medieval times and they was all watching the king's lifestyle. You understand me? They'll never be happy with their life.
Right.
You feel me? And today, everybody looks like they're living the greatest life on the planet, so you always feel like you're missing something trying to fill that void in your next purchase, right? So therefore, yeah, you're going to spend money you don't have to feel good, right? Because people are searching for stimulation all day long. And legislation is not changing things. You feel me? Like, capitalism is the issue in America. Extreme greedy capitalism. Fiduciary duty started all the way back with the Ford brothers. It was in the early 1900s where there was these brothers.
Not to cut you off. You said wrap it up. How long? God damn. Okay.
That was fast.
All right, that was fast. But for these last 3 minutes, I want to make this point. What you think about this online war between Black Americans and Black foreigners? Because to me, it's more divide and conquer, right? We're even using racist terms towards other Black people that's not from here, calling them tethers.
Yeah.
And I see that online time and time again. I'm like, how does this make sense? Wouldn't you want to build a bridge to our brothers and sisters overseas so we got a coalition here and there? Why are you separating yourselves? We already separated here. I'm Muslim, I'm Crip, I'm Blood, I'm this, I'm that. Like, what you think about that?
I think, number one, it's important to be able to recognize your American roots and who we are and what we've been through, because I think that really connects us all. Because we all done came from the same situation, circumstances. There's a level of loyalty we have to that storyline and our reparations and what we need and our contributions to the world and our self-pride. And then there's that respect that we have to have in between each other. You understand me? Between Africans and blacks, Black Americans, right? To where it's like, we have been fighting for all people across the planet Earth. Recognize that, appreciate that. Because all of a sudden, everybody has now started to pick up all of these different nationalities, when at first it was just everybody black, right? Now you Dominican, now you Puerto Rican, now you this, that, and the third. And so black people like, damn, my bad, I thought we was all one. You feel me? And so I think it was actually a lot of other people that start picking up these things and saying, no, we started this or we did this. But when we was doing this thing, you didn't say you was Puerto Rican doing this. You said you was black doing this, participating in this. So I think that there's a level of having that identity, right, and that sense of pride within your culture that is key, specifically for preserving it and growing it. But number two, I think that is also part of a psyop, right, that disconnects us, because Africa is the best place to invest in over the next 50 years. They have the population growth. That population growth means that when they're investing, there's a whole new consumer base to where you're going to build new technologies out. All of the countries are going to be fighting for access to Africa as they are right now. And in the midst of Africa going through its biggest revolution, we're the most disconnected from that storyline. So I believe it's a psyop. Right? I believe that there's an aspect in identifiers, right, that is key, but then there's the aspect that the enemy is utilizing that against us.
So Tariq Nasheed, come holla at us, because you the face of that movement, that whole tether and all that. We need to get down to that.
And
is
I
you
talked
with
to
us, or is you controlled
Tyreek
opposition,
about
nigga?
that, actually.
Because a lot of these niggas is controlled opposition, and I'm starting to wonder about a lot of these niggas. So come holla at us, Tariq.
I talked to Tariq Nasheed and I asked him about that, and he said, you know, there's some extremes in every group, essentially, right? And I believe that to be true, but I think everybody has that same question, right? Like, why is this happening now? And what is the benefit of it in the future, right? And so I think that if you go back to the movie Sinners, you know, I believe in ethnicity more than I believe in race, right? Ethnically, do we got the same values? You feel me? Ethnically, do we grow up the same, got the same mission? People in your geographical location, you feel me, that think like you. Because there's a lot of black men that don't think like me. So it don't matter how black you is. You can go sit in the sun until you bake crisp. You feel me? It don't mean nothing. You ain't got the same values. So therefore, what would make you sell out or what would make you stand up is completely different than what I would stand for. So I think we should be grading and connecting our tribes based on who have the same values. You feel me? Because we've been tricked a lot of time by people that got the same color. You feel me? But that ain't got the same mindset.
For sure, man. We want to thank you for coming out, blessing the
platform.
platform.
I appreciate y'all for having
this high-level conversation. Morals over money, values over views, man. The viral way. Y'all know what the deal is.
Nah, facts. Yeah, thank you for pulling up on us, man. We appreciate that. Much respect from over here on the Viral Way.
I enjoyed this, man.
Yeah, y'all go grab this coffee too, man.
Y'all
run it up, man.
I ain't gonna lie.
Run it up.
I had seen you talking about that. I think you was in the studio with somebody, and I had seen it. I'm like, man, I want to try that shit. You got mushrooms or something in it, right?
Yeah. The quarter chef, the mushroom, man. Hey, y'all conversations will go to another level. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Ain't no handouts, I did it from the ground up. In the streets, thugging hardest where they found us. Got a problem, nigga, watch my troopers mount up. My bitch a thing too, and you a lame though. You niggas ain't outside, yeah, we came through. You want your lights up, we put you on the shade.